Ahead on Eyewitness News at 11, more details emerged today about the Orlando massacre as the lives of those 49 lost are still being put to rest. We'll take you to tonight's vigil in honor of a FAMU alum killed in that shooting. Plus, lawmakers headed to the U.S. Capitol today to discuss gun control proposals in the wake of last week's shooting, find out if anything was accomplished. We'll also have reaction from the family of Kendrick Johnson after a federal court decides not to file charges in his death.
And we had a mild start this morning, but some warmer weather is on the way. I'll have a look at that forecast coming up. Eyewitness News at 11 starts right now.
Live from the WCTV studios, this is Eyewitness News at 11. Coverage you can count on.
1 week after the Orlando massacre, the 49 victims are still being laid to rest, including this man, 29-year-old FAMU alum Antonio Brown. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for staying up with us tonight. I'm Abby Walton. Brown graduated from FAMU back in 2008. Earlier this evening, members of the Rattler community came together to honor Brown's memory. Our Erin Lish was there. She joins us now live tonight from the campus. Erin?
You know, Abby, this was an event to look back and reflect on the life of Antonio Brown, and those who loved him so much gave a glimpse into the person and the friend that they knew.
It's all been really surreal, unbelievable.
Antonio Brown's friends shed light on his life after losing it in the Orlando shooting.
The smile, he was always smiling. He was always, like I said, really warm and inviting. He was never judgmental.
He was loyal to this university. He always remembered FAMU. He always remembered the Rattler Battalion. I'm going to miss our conversations. I'm going to miss him.
Those who never met Brown show the strength of the FAMU community.
So again, in times of need, we like to come together and just show support for one another, to be there.
You might not have ever met them, but that doesn't mean that they're not a human being with a family who have people who love them and are important to remember.
Remembering a friend after the candle goes out.
While I was holding the candle, I just wanted to reflect on the good things, but also let go.
Letting go, but never forgetting how Antonio was the light in the life of many. Local and state representatives made an appearance today, including City Commissioner Curtis Richardson and State Representative Alan Williams. And Abby, Alan Williams, he really wanted to point out the fact that this is a tragedy, but we can't stay angry. We must fight back with love, because love always trumps hate.
All right, thank you very much, Erin. Erin Lish reporting tonight from the FAMU campus. Today, new details are emerging about what gunman Omar Mateen was doing during last Sunday's shootout. The FBI released a transcript of the 3 calls between Mateen and hostage negotiators. While that audio will not be released, officials say he was calm while making murderous statements, including pledging allegiance to the Islamic State. He even hinted about a bomb being outside Pulse nightclub. Orlando's police chief says he will not discuss whether or not some of those victims were shot by police.
That's all part of the investigation, but here's what I will tell you. Those killings are on the suspect.
Tomorrow, the U.S. Attorney General plans to meet with investigators and survivors in Orlando. Meanwhile, as we're learning more about Omar Mateen, questions about Islam are once again back in the national conversation. To help facilitate, the Democratic Club in North Florida hosted a dinner and discussion tonight about the Islamic faith. Those in attendance met with a Tallahassee imam to learn the ins and outs of the religion. Imam Amro Abdallah says it's great to see people wanting to learn more about the faith.
Of course, I'm happy to tell the people about the Islamic faith in general, and to inform the American people especially about that Islam is not a violence religion. Islam is totally the opposite.
This is the first time the club has hosted a faith-based discussion. 1 week after a gunman shot and killed 49 people at that Orlando nightclub, lawmakers headed to Capitol Hill today to decide whether to pass or block several gun control proposals. all 4 of those proposals were defeated. The Democrats' proposals would have expanded background checks for guns bought online and at gun shows. It also would have stopped those on no-fly or terrorist watch lists from buying guns. The GOP proposal would have required a court order to block the sale of a gun. It would have also allowed the mentally ill to challenge their diagnosis in order to buy guns. The National Rifle Association led efforts against the regulation, saying the focus is misplaced.
Laws didn't stop them in Boston. Laws didn't stop them in San Bernardino, where you had every type of gun control law you could have. And they didn't stop them in Paris, where people can't even own guns.
Republican Senator Susan Collin has another proposal. Her compromise is to ban people on the no-fly list, but not the terrorist watch list from buying guns. That proposal has not been scheduled for a vote. And after today's votes, Florida Senator Bill Nelson released a statement saying in part, quote, "What am I going to tell 49 grieving families? What am I going to tell the families of those that are still in the hospital fighting for their lives?" He goes on to say, quote, "What am I going to tell the community of Orlando that's trying to come together in healing? Sadly, what I'm going to have to tell them is that the NRA won again," end quote. If you'd like to read Nelson's full statement, you can do that by going to WCTV.tv. Meanwhile, the AR-15 rifle, the same gun used in that massacre, continues causing controversy. That's because congressional candidate Greg Evers from the Florida Panhandle recently announced a Facebook contest to give away one of those rifles. Evers says he's doing this because terrorist threats are increasing and he feels strongly about the Second Amendment. The winner will be selected July 4th. They must pass a federal background check. So we asked you on Facebook what you thought about the contest, and here's what some of you had to say. Heather Harrell says, "This is about as tasteless as raffling a case of box cutters after 9/11. Adam Ridley says, "How many responsible, law-abiding Americans own guns? You can't ban guns because of a few crazy people. It's not the guns, it's the hearts of the people. Evil knows no limits." And James Hatcher says, "Why does anybody need an AR-15? You are not in combat, and that is what this weapon was meant for." Thanks to everybody who responded. You can still join in on this conversation by going to our WCTV Facebook page. Turning to some other news this evening, new developments in the Kendrick Johnson case. Today, federal prosecutors decided not to file criminal charges in this investigation. Our James Buckley was in Macon, Georgia today as the U.S. attorney and the Johnson family faced cameras.
3.5 years after Kendrick Johnson was found dead inside a Lowndes High, the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Macon, Georgia announces there will not be any federal charges, thus closing the case. Kendrick Johnson's parents were hoping for good news Monday when they met with prosecutors from the U.S. Attorney's Office. However, the family now starts back at square one after insufficient evidence was found to move forward with federal charges.
All we ever asked for was answers and the truth about what's happening to Kendrick, and they still ain't gave us no answers, so we still have no truth.
Something did happen to Kendrick Johnson, but they just couldn't prove who killed him.
During Monday's meeting, the Johnsons say the U.S. Attorney's Office told them that the second autopsy done by the family that showed KJ died of blunt force trauma was accurate, and that the state's autopsy saying he died of asphyxiation was wrong.
We know he was murdered, and they all but came out and said they know he was murdered, but nothing to be done about it.
Justice for KJ! Justice for KJ!
The announcement not to file charges comes after years of protest in the Valdosta community. Now the family has to figure out what's next in their search for justice.
We are certainly going to have to take the information that has been given to us, digest it, and then, of course, decide what strategy we will employ from this point going forward.
We will find out what happened to my son if it takes 10 or 15 more years.
At Monday's press conference, Kendrick Johnson's family says they plan to refile those civil lawsuits on behalf of KJ. Reporting in Macon, I'm James Buckley. Back to you.
If you'd like to read the U.S. Attorney's full statement, you can go to our website at WCTV.tv. A special tribute tonight to a Leon County Sheriff's deputy who lost his life in the line of duty. The first Deputy Chris Smith Fellowship Award was handed out tonight to a graduating recruit at the Pat Thomas Law Enforcement Academy. The award was given to recruit Jesse Belcher with congratulations from Smith's widow and the Leon County Sheriff. Deputy Chris Smith was shot and killed in an ambush in November of 2014. The gunman set his home on fire to lure first responders to the scene. Smith was the first to arrive on scene. Coming up next on Eyewitness News at 11.
New details of a Friday house fire that took place in Thomasville. I'll have your story coming up.
And we also have our eyes on the skies and clear skies at that. Some more sunshine in the forecast, but also a warm up too. Highs today were in the low 90s and lows were in the low 70s. But will we see some warmer weather? The answer coming up soon.